Okay, so we're going to talk about how to read the passages. There are a lot of different ways that you can read the passages, but I'm going to tell you the way that's the most efficient for your time, because remember you're timed on these, and you're most likely to get the most questions correct. There are 5 passages and 52 questions in only 65 minutes, so you've got to be quick and accurate. Okay, the first thing, you need to look over the questions. That's something that a lot of people don't do, is to scroll through the questions. Obviously it's on paper, so flip through the questions first. Why? Because it gives you an idea of what you're looking for when you're reading. It's just like a quiz. If you know what the questions are while you're listening to the lectures, don't you think you'd be more inclined to catch the important things? I would say so. So please first begin reading the questions. As you read the questions, you can circle like big picture main idea questions right off the bat, so that way you're able to know what you're looking for. Here's just an example of one. So obviously the main purpose of the passage is 2. You know that's going to be a main idea question. Step 2. You need to read the little blurb at the beginning of the passages. Sometimes those little blurbs are actual answers to questions. Or sometimes those blurbs completely change the way you read the passage. It can help you decide if it's an informational passage, a narrative, an argument, a newspaper article. It really helps you have an understanding of the tone, style, and purpose of the passage. We're all familiar with that, right? This little part that everybody skips over at the beginning. I skip over it a lot too when I'm looking at stuff. But the point is, it tells you information that could be helpful in answering your question. And it's really small and easy to read. So make sure you read that. Step 3, okay. Now you go ahead and read the passage, now that you've done those steps. You need to read quickly. You need to take and read as quickly as you can. Okay? Look out for transitional words like however and additionally and despite, because that's going to show a shift in the passage, and most likely there's going to be a question about the shift in the passage. So make sure you're looking at those. Step 4. Leave the ones you circled for the end, because those are honestly probably going to be the easier questions. Start with your harder questions first. They're going to take your most time, right? The other ones you can breeze through a little quicker. If your passage includes a chart or a graph, then you'll have 1 or 2 data interpretation questions. And obviously, you're going to use those charts to answer those questions. So those, a lot of times that information is not necessarily in the passage. And then, of course, because you've never seen a data question before, there's a data question. Step 5, once you'd answered the other questions, go back to those general questions that you circled, the main idea ones, because those are going to be your quicker questions. Pretty much that's all I've got to say about that. So those are the steps to answering those questions when they go with a passage. Okay, so the SAT reading is all about rhetoric, which means the study of writing or speaking. So we're talking about the reading test assesses how well you understand those things. The first type is analyzing word choice, or not, I wouldn't say first type, it's one type. It's going to ask you to determine how specific words or phrases or patterns of words and phrases create meaning and tone in the passage, which we've done this before, right? How do these words change the tone of the passage? What words are the words that you read that make you feel sad or happy? These are things we've gone over before. Another one would be analyzing text structure. That means, how does the text develop? Does it start off one way and shift to another? Does it start off one way, shift to another, and go back to the beginning? Is it traditional in terms of like, is it a 5-paragraph essay? What does it do? Okay, how did the author structure that text? Point of view is another one. Usually they give you 2 passages and they ask you about point of view on the 2 passages. Like, what would this author and this author both agree on? Even though they might be 2 articles based on completely opposite directions. There might be a small hint of things that they agree on, and they're going to ask you about that. The purpose. They're going to ask you about not only the purpose of the entire article, but they're going to ask you purpose of specific paragraphs within the article. We talked about this at the very beginning of the year. We spent a great deal of time writing arguments, if you remember correctly from last year. Why? Because they ask you in the SAT to analyze arguments. The central claim of the passage is, so we're talking about what is this author trying to prove? And how is this author doing it? And that's all I have for you on that. So what you're going to do now for a little while is something that you haven't done yet. On your Khan Academy. Does this look familiar, this dashboard? Okay. What you're going to do is usually we go, don't do it yet, we usually go to full tests right here. What I want you to do now is it says current skill levels. These are called diagnostics. They are shorter, quicker versions of tests to help you gauge your skills and see if you're growing in your skill or if you're not. So what you'll do is you'll go here, click reading and writing, and you'll start with quiz 1, start task. You'll try to get through a few of these, like hopefully 4 of them, and then you'll let me know that you're done, and then I'll take a look at those with you individually.